Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. We'll just give it a few more seconds for people to log in, and then we'll get started. I'll kick us off. Given this is a live webinar, but it will be recorded. Okay, we've got a minute there. Hopefully everyone's made it in to the lobby that wants to be here, and like I said, this will be recorded as well. Just a quick introduction from myself. My name's Ben Latham, and I'm the director of the Solution Provider Programme, and I'm based in the UK, covering the EMEA region. I'd like to welcome you all to the session today, which is Preparing for the Future, Upgrading the Proficy HMI SCADA before the Windows 10 support ends next year. So today's event is part of our Systems Integrator educational series of events. We're doing these to raise awareness and knowledge of our new products, some enhancements, but also technology trends, all with the aim of helping our system integrators improve productivity, solve customer challenges, and also uncover some new revenue opportunities. Now, just on today's webinar, some of you may know that Microsoft will end support for Windows 10 on October the 14th, 2025. This presents a significant challenge for many organizations, especially those that rely on SCADA systems. As a systems integrator, your expertise will be invaluable to your customers. And today, we aim to provide you with some knowledge and the tools necessary to navigate this upcoming transition smoothly, to explore the potential impacts so that you can ensure seamless upgrades and ongoing success for you and for your customers. Now, as always, just a safe harbor statement here. During the session, we might discuss some future roadmap enhancements that are not committed right now, but you can always check with us, and if you have any questions around them, please let us know. Final bit of housekeeping here. You should see these buttons that look like this on your screen, like you see on the slide here. And the orange chat bubble, you can submit questions throughout the session. We really encourage that. We'll have some time at the end to answer them, or we can follow up with you via email or directly if we don't get to them. The purple button, you can contact myself or Tim, for example, for more information on the Solution Provider Programme. The blue paperclip icon is where you can access additional resources, including access to training, product information, as well as additional ways to hear updates from us. You've got the orange person button, again, connect with myself or the presenter and experts that are online today. And then there's the orange kind of brown question mark button where you can access any technical assistance that may be needed throughout the session. And just on that, a helpful tip that if you do experience any issues, first try refreshing your browser, and that tends to solve most things. And then we have the pink icon, which is a feedback survey. And we'd really love to hear your feedback on what you're experiencing with your customers. And that's everything there. And then just a final reminder to let everyone know that the session is being recorded. The slides will go out via email along with the recording in the next few days, so be on the lookout for that, and then feel free to reference back to these materials as needed. So, final thing from me, before we moderate the questions at the end, just to introduce the two subject matter experts that are here today. We've got two of them. We've got Alec Granger and Chad Smith. They both bring a wealth of knowledge on today's topic. They are both product managers for iFIX and Simplicity, respectively, from our automation HMI SCADA product set. They've both been with GE for many years, probably too many years to mention, but I'll let them say that if they need to. They've worked in a variety of roles, and they're excited to share more about the developments in this area. So with that, I'll let you guys take it away.
Thanks so much, Ben. Appreciate you doing the introduction and helping us to level set here for the rest of today's presentation. So yes, please, by all means, feel free to bring those questions in. We definitely want to make sure we address as many as we can on today's session. So yes, as Ben mentioned, my name is Alec Granger, your product manager of iFIX. With me, I have Chad Smith. He's the product manager of Simplicity. So we'll be kind of walking you guys through a few different items here in regards to Windows 10, making sure that you upgrade and have the necessary capabilities and information at your fingertips to be able to upgrade your iFIX and Simplicity SCADA systems ahead of the Windows 10 obsolescence. So, starting off here, as Ben mentioned, October 14th of next year is the official date where Windows will be stopping support Microsoft will be stopping support of Windows 10, right? So, obviously Windows 10 and is being superseded by 11, and that is obviously, referencing both the private, personal, and then of course, the business level hardware and those kind of things like that. So that needs to be kept in mind. Now, that brings also something into the focus there, which is hardware. So, typically speaking, operating systems and their obsolescence tends to be one of the major driving factors when it comes to upgrading both, other secondary software systems that are on, installed architecture, like in this case, SCADA systems, or, but also in terms of upgrading hardware, right? So as hardware components age, you have differing issues and where in terms of making sure that you have the right driver set to be able to ensure communication and capabilities with various different operating systems that you're putting on the hardware. So we do understand that this is going to usually be an indicative of a major shift both in software and hardware. So, here at Vernova, we're doing our part to make sure that, we are enabling you all for the future. So, in terms of us understanding that the operating system is the base layer, it will affect, various different aspects. So, we all have lifecycle policies that we have in terms of our software. So our software lifecycle policies are much reflective of what we see here in driving through the industry. So then, looking at, our next piece of here where it's just talking about, is your application at risk, right? We do understand that, Windows 10 is still everywhere right now. We have a lot of installed base on personal and business level computing systems. You have a lot of installed base on various different devices. So there is a large scale change here across the industry, and not even just our industry, but really worldwide. So understanding that it remains a very popular operating system, Microsoft has done their part in terms of Windows 11, the evolution of that code base from an operating system perspective. So, when it comes to the fact that we live in a connected world and connected sphere, information is more readily at our fingertips, but unfortunately also it means that, the, malware or negative effects of being in a connected world are also, they're closer to us than we've ever had before. So making sure your organization stays a step ahead of what's happening in terms of security and keeping your business and your intellectual property and all those things like that safe are paramount. So, what does the end of life actually mean when it comes to Microsoft, right? So it's really three main areas. The first being no more technical support, right? So that is the one that you're going to want to be mindful of. So, calling in for OS systems support, those kind of things are going to be where you're going to have a hang up there when they actually do the obsolescence. The security patches and updates, Microsoft is triaging that section when it comes to Windows 10, right? So that is going to be something to keep in mind when it comes to answering that question of, is your own application at risk? The feature updates, obviously the fact that there's no security, there's not going to be any feature updates there for the Windows 10 operating system, right? So the it's significant because your hardware is no longer going to be, protected at the OS base layer. You may have some vendors still doing updates on their end. Obviously we maintain our software, but those things are risks that you need to assess and address there within your architecture, and obviously your customer's architecture as well. So those are things that you need to keep in mind when answering that question: is your application at risk? So when it comes to how do you decrease your risk, right? So you got to answer the question, how do we make sure that we are addressing outdated system architectures? That can be, hardware. It can also be the software and how things are done. So, you're looking at things like not just the physical hardware, but also like the security protocols that you enable there and your security methodology that you enable there as well too. The software itself, you need to look and see how are they being supported. There's many different elements. We do recognize that customers deploy many things on their actual architecture, and SCADA is one part of it. So you've got to look at your architecture and look at it holistically and address those risks to make sure that you're not leaving yourself open to some sort of malware attacks in today's day and age. So the hardware, the software, and overall architecture need to be addressed when it comes to decreasing the actual risk itself. So let's start a little bit and talk about, upgrading the SCADA. What are the features and benefits that you will have, available to you when you're looking at these kind of things? So, first off, obviously, you're avoiding the obsolescence, which you just kind of mentioned that before. There are new functionality that's coming out every single year. We've been pushing hard, obviously, within Vernova to not only address any security concerns, which of course we have dedicated teams for that, but we've also been pushing to add new functionality and capabilities, leveraging things that are normally outside of our sphere or outside of our industry, like AI and machine learning, and leveraging those and bringing those functionalities and capabilities into further enhance and enrich the SCADA experience. When you're talking about the user experience and what they can do, we understand that we are an increasingly mobile generation, right? We have more mobile devices deployed, not only within organization, but even personal, than we've ever had before, right? So understanding how to, address security concerns, but also enable, fast, quick, and capable decision-making in real time, even when people are not on premise, is something that we've been also focusing on in terms of, the HMI SCADA experience. As I mentioned, that AI ML, by bringing that into and folding that into what you do from SCADA, we can leverage analytics to further enhance what SCADA can do, moving SCADA from just a supervisory role to adding it advisory capabilities to it, so it can inform you on more efficient practices there at your facilities and customer facilities alike, helping them to understand how best to proceed forward, with the given information. And with the fact that we live in a more connected age than ever, a lot of our hardware and architecture is taking a lot of data in that isn't necessarily being used. So leveraging analytics to see patterns that aren't necessarily readily accessible on the surface, and allowing those to address the SCADA capabilities is something that we want to enable our customers to be able to do. As I mentioned there earlier, the security is a big one too. So obviously updating your HMI and SCADA enables additional layers and capabilities in terms of security. By we have multi-factor authentication capabilities. Many of our customers who are on old versions of our SCADA software don't have access to those kind of things today. and when it comes to leveraging Active Directory and those kind of things that many customers are doing today, we have those capabilities in our newer systems. So there's a lot of areas that can be major benefit there in terms of upgrading your HMI and SCADA, when it comes to this obsolescence. So this can be viewed as really as an opportunity to assess the current system and address it and position it well for the future. So in terms of assessing the current system, this is really a holistic approach. You're going to be looking and seeing, okay, what kind of operating system obviously are your servers and clients running right now. So, with Windows 10, like we mentioned, they're coming obsolete next year. You want to make sure that you're positioning yourselves and your customers well there for security in the future. So looking for Windows 11 support, which we have on various different versions of both iFIX and Simplicity. So those will be the ones obviously that you're going to be looking at to be potential upgrades there for your customers. You're looking and seeing, okay, Windows 10, how is it being used from a client perspective? Is it just the client? Is it also running the SCADA server? Those type of things can have various different implications in terms of how secure your system is. If you're looking at the actual version of iFIX and Simplicity, you're looking and seeing, what functionality is there. And we have some of those slides to go through some of that here in the coming part of the deck. You're looking and seeing historian. Is there a good match between those type of things? So again, when I said there holistically, you want to look and see the various different components of your architecture and make sure that features, functionality, support, and capabilities are matching between it, right? So, you've got to address those things in terms of assessing your current system. You're looking and seeing what is the risk, and feature benefit capabilities in terms of, how you upgrade in terms of timeline, right? So we do have until October 14th next year, but ahead of that, obviously, we're looking and seeing how we can address it and assess it here quickly. So, next in terms of looking at this, you want to look at the next steps, right? So as I mentioned, does the version of iFIX Simplicity, do they support Windows 11? We have detailed information available to show the supported OSs for each version of iFIX and Simplicity. Same thing goes along with historian. So you're looking and seeing, what software and parts of your architecture are supported by what operating system. The other thing too is looking and seeing, the actual hardware itself, right? That's the major thing. So if you're looking and seeing, available architecture, whether you're doing everything upgrading from just a VM perspective, virtual machine perspective on current existing hardware, or if you're bringing new hardware into the facilities, obviously Windows 11 support, making sure the right drivers are there, making sure that both from visual perspective, drivers are there from and TPM capabilities there from security perspective, making sure that available RAM and all that is meeting the minimum requirements for the various parts of the architecture that you're building out, right? So those are the type of things in terms of the next steps. Now, looking obviously, something we want to highlight here is, iFIX, like I said, I mentioned there earlier, we've been heavily investing in iFIX, pushing the capabilities, making sure that we enable, industry capabilities that maybe again outside of automation and bringing those capabilities into the SCADA experience. Looking at how do we make things more efficient for our customer base, more efficient for system integrators. When it talks about things like capabilities around, centralized management, our configuration hub, bringing those in so that you can unify architectures, you can do concurrent development, the model-based approach, so you can have a more object-oriented and hierarchical structure when it comes to the tags capabilities. So, when you're looking at it, you're looking in terms of the visualization perspective. We have operations hub from an HMI capabilities that again stretches more enterprise-wide. So you can leverage that. You bring in single sign-on capability within the Proficy portfolio, so people can sign on with their credentials and get, accurate visuals that provide and offer up relevant and quick information for efficient decision making in real time that are relevant to their role, so you don't no longer have to do the same approach when it comes to visualization that you did in the past, where you kind of have one screen to rule them all, where everybody kind of has they have their ideas around what parts of the screen are relevant to what they're doing. You can actually have persona-based visual experience now today. So we've continued to build out some of those things, looking at leveraging, different connectivity capabilities, OPC UA, bringing those type of things in to enable the next generation of SCADA, right? So those are things you want to just to look at, and we're not going to belabor all this, but there are certain things that, obviously when you're doing an upgrade, that there are some impacts, right, to from some of the changes, right? So we have like earlier versions of iFIX that are pre 6.0, they don't have the long tag names, right, enabled, right? So pre 6.0 to after 6.0, we have to update our clients first before updating the SCADA, because the new SCADA can talk to both old and new clients. The old clients cannot talk to the new SCADAs, right? So those are kind of things that need to be addressed or thought about when it comes to assessing the current systems, assessing the next steps when it comes to the upgrading process. You're looking in what we have here, specifically those two top layers, or core capability and base technology. Those are the ones that have potential impact really to the actual project, right? If you're talking about upgrading current customers to the newest versions of iFIX. Now that impact doesn't necessarily mean that it could be bad or it's just something to keep in mind, that, when we enable, greater scalability within the software, that could be something that, maybe something you want to look at in terms of your customer base, the performance improvements for the network, those kind of things that may free up things and may enable greater throughput in your available network bandwidth, that customers that, again, could have some impact on what they're doing. And very well could, in most cases, are going to be a very positive one. The new capabilities here that we see listed as just to highlight the things that we have just kind of built out, and just, again, another view here just to show you, where you see the Windows 11 support. You see that starting in iFIX 2022, right? So we obviously, 2024 is the latest and greatest in terms of performance, scalability, capabilities, and functionality throughout the Proficy portfolio. We do recommend that being the upgrade path, but these are things we wanted to highlight so that our customer base knows what to do. Looking at the actual upgrade workflow. So we actually have an upgrade guide. It's available on our documentation page. We also have it in PDF format. This is a screenshot of the actual PDF book here that you can see and have access to. But you really want to start with your performing a manual backup, right? So there's a pre-upgrade checklist that we have that's available in this upgrade guide. It's going to take you through every single step of the process, and we obviously don't want to go through all of that here, but the fact is you start with a manual backup of that, right? So we can look in terms of how we are actually migrating your iFIX projects and data, and how you properly do a backup. And then you're talking about you actually upgrade your system, that's, again, whether that's the hardware or whether or not you're bringing a new VM online to be able to move to. Then of course you do your testing there, you upgrade and you install the software, test to make sure everything is good, you pull over the project. And then, you're talking about looking at your licenses and, again, addressing your architecture and making sure that that is ready to deploy. And then once you have done that, of course, you do the testing and validation, and then that brings you to the end. So with that, let me just switch gears a little bit and turn it over to Chad a little bit to talk to you for a couple of slides here on Simplicity.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Yeah. Chad Smith here. I'm, as Alec mentioned, I'm the product manager for Simplicity. And I'll show you kind of a similar kind of view as what Alec did, but from the Simplicity perspective. of course, we've had many releases over the years, and as you can see there on the right, the supported releases, and over those, the time since Windows 10 became valid and supported, we've added a number of features to the product that, not only do you benefit from upgrading the SCADA to get the OS support, but you also, as was mentioned, you bring in all of the new feature capabilities, and we'll go through those in a little bit later in the presentation to give you some of the more details of the features that we have added that would be interesting as part of your upgrade process. So this is just kind of an overview of the things that we've done over the last few releases. As Alec mentioned, similar, at different stages along the way and in different versions, we've supported different OS versions. As you can see, Windows 10 was added in the 9.5 release, and then Windows 11 support was added in a version of Simplicity 2022. So as you consider your upgrade journey, as you look to get ahead of this obsolescence of Windows 10, you would need to consider upgrading at least to Windows 2022. Of course, we would be recommend that you go to the very latest version of 2024 just to stay as current as possible and stay well within the support timeframe. Similar to iFIX, we have an upgrade guide for when upgrading Simplicity projects. Simplicity has a lot of built-in upgrade capabilities. So as you, reinstall to the latest version of Simplicity and open your project, Simplicity takes care of, the majority of the upgrade steps that need to happen. But it is always a great idea, and this is in the guide, to do backups in case something, doesn't go as planned. And as, especially, Simplicity and iFIX are very customizable. We have a lot of API support. So as you have built up applications around the SCADA, there's, considerations to be made in terms of how you're going to upgrade those to work well, both on the new Windows version that you're upgrading to, but also in terms of recompiling, in some cases, any API projects that work directly against the API. Those kind of considerations are all in the guide, and you'll need to take those into consideration as you connect to external sources like databases, to external API applications, and things like that. But on the whole, upgrading to iFIX and Simplicity essentially is a matter of reinstalling and opening up your projects. And aside from external sources or interactions, the product is very good and very backward compatible in bringing forward your existing applications to work in the new version. So the other thing to think about now, this is there's kind of the approach of let's make sure that we don't go obsolete and that we don't get insecure, and just upgrading your application as is to run again as is in your new hardware and OS setup. But this is also a good time, as you make those kind of upgrades, to take into consideration any other like technology capabilities or opportunities as you upgrade to move your system forward to the next level of capabilities that comes both at the OS level and in the technology that's available and in the feature set that's been added to the product. So here's just some few things that you may want to consider as you think about your next upgrade. If you're still kind of primarily using thick client architecture in Simplicity and iFIX, and you're having to maintain those separate servers for every viewer, doing upgrade patches and things like that, thin client architecture has become more available and robust, using our web space and terminal server capabilities within the products. You can now consolidate your HMI into one server and serve it out to multiple clients in a thin client manner without having to maintain a thick client setup. And of course, our Operations Hub technology, which is our next gen HMI offering that we're building up and making available in a web-based HMI format is a thin client technology that allows you to develop your screens in one place and serve them out to be able to view them anytime, anywhere in a browser environment. So that's a consideration to think about. Virtualization, over the last number of years, virtualization has become kind of more and more capable and more makes more and more sense versus having to maintain multiple machines, being able to have virtual images for use with our software. And our software fully supports virtual environments for setting up and running both SCADAs and viewers. Obviously, cloud has become more and more prominent in our thinking and more and more option to consider potentially in your setup. Having the advantage of not having to maintain your own hardware. More and more, the Proficy portfolio is supporting cloud-based interactions, both from being able to run our SCADAs and viewers on cloud VMs, but even more further down the line, we have more of our portfolio becoming cloud native. So for example, we have a cloud historian offering, and as we move forward, Operations Hub and some of these other common components that work with our portfolio are cloud capable. Everything new that we are building going forward in our portfolio is cloud enabled. And so this is something that you can take into consideration is, for example, with your SCADAs, if you wanted to move to a cloud historian, you could push all of your historical data into the cloud and make it more available for analytics, for example. Also, we've made some important advances in our support for different authentication capabilities. In today's world, multi-factor authentication and consolidating your authentication and authorization into an LDAP or Active Directory scenario is more and more helpful in kind of centralizing how you manage those types of things. In support of that, the Proficy portfolio supports what we call Proficy authentication, which is an OAuth 2 technology server piece of software that lets you set up and centrally manage your LDAP connections, set up and use SAML technologies for single sign-on and for multi-factor authentication capabilities, just to, again, more fully secure your SCADA system in today's kind of dangerous world when it comes to hackers and malware and things like that. So just making it more secure using our Proficy authentication capability is a consideration that you'll want to think about as you upgrade to our latest versions of iFIX and Simplicity. This is also a great opportunity to consider modernizing your user experience. Systems that have been built up, 15, in some cases 15, 20 plus years ago, were built with the latest kind of thinking at the time in terms of an operator experience. Advances have been made in terms of recommendations and testing on how operators interact with the system. And you really want to take this opportunity to think about your displays and think if it's time to kind of organize them in a better way and build them up in a way that is more useful to your operators. So bringing into your screens only the information that's really usable and actionable by the user, making sure kind of minimizing the things that are distracting, consideration of moving to more enhanced graphical capabilities with our Proficy Operations Hub, being able to be delivered through web-based graphics and visualization, and just really take a step back and say, how do we make sure that experience both improves and maintains over time? Whether that's developing a style guide to kind of make sure things stay consistent, leveraging some of the tools and capabilities in our software to use templates and libraries so that things are consistent in your HMI screens across the board. this is a great opportunity as you upgrade to consider if it's time to, either in whole or in part, start to improve that operator experience with later technologies and capabilities and later standards. Alec mentioned it briefly, but and I see a question in the chat about this, but there's analytics and artificial intelligence are the buzzwords today, and there's definitely a lot of power there that you'll want to be kind of thinking about as you plan, and when you're doing your upgrade is the time to maybe think about, am I setting myself up for success in being able to use analytics to improve my process, to improve my operations. And there's kind of two aspects to that. One is to kind of evaluate, am I getting the right data available and being pushed to time series or historian type scenarios and databases, so that I can have a basis for doing the analytics or evaluating my system, and be able to move, as Alec mentioned, from just purely supervisory to be able to set up analytics to be advisory, to be able to kind of say where, how are things trending, and can I look ahead and make adjustments so that I'm prepared for that. GE Vernova offers our Proficy C-Sense product as an analytics platform that is very powerful in customizing and building up your own analytics, but also comes with pre-built templates. One of the ones that we've just recently released and is available is an alarm analysis analytic that goes through and finds alarm associations for which alarms go off at similar times and things like that. So those analytics are available, and Simplicity and iFIX now ship with one free analytic license, runtime license, which gives you that capability to try out these analytic templates and see if they can work well for you as you move forward and as you do your upgrades. And this is, again, just that opportunity now to say, I'm upgrading now. What is my upgrade strategy over time? Like maybe your system or your customer's systems have been running with the same version for 10 or more years or whatever, and is that really the best way to go forward as you're planning and carrying out this upgrade to take to account for the Windows 10 obsolescence? Can you kind of decide what is your upgrade policy going to be, and maybe have set up reviews for that, assign a champion? Just it's an opportunity to reevaluate your upgrade strategy to make sure you stay current, not only with the latest features, but also from a security perspective. And of course, we're here to help. We invite you to contact your representative for assistance. We're open to engaging with you in terms of doing risk assessments and architectural guidance. We have a UX team that is available for consultation on upgrading your screens and things like that. So with that, I think, let's see, I think we're going to go to, I think, Alec, we're going to send it back to you to continue on here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chad. Yeah, so as Chad mentioned, we have a lot of capabilities that are kind of really Proficy wide, and we're building out. We have a holistic approach in how we're building things, right? So we want to make sure that we're enabling technology like as Chad mentioned, the HTML5 based client, which, powered by Operations Hub, that's really Proficy wide, right? So it's a focus there so that you, as Chad mentioned, in one place you build visualization, and that can be leveraged architecturally wide, right? And, the same thing when the analytics that he mentioned there, powered by C-Sense, it's part of our Proficy portfolio. We're really trying to treat Proficy as one toolbox, various different tools, but we are, things as you may have caught there, iFIX 2022, Windows 11 support, Simplicity 2022, Windows 11 support. So, we are looking at things holistically, yearly releases. We're making sure our operating system capabilities are matching across the portfolio. We're doing lots of interoperability testing, leveraging the Proficy authentication capabilities, looking at these tools across portfolio so that, as you all step into the latest and greatest, you're getting, the Proficy portfolio and the suite of tools operating and interacting together more cohesively than they ever have in the past. So we continue to build that out. We have lots of documentation available on our documentation site, lots of videos that are being produced and being hosted up there as well too, to help you all take advantage of some of the new capabilities. Because obviously, we can do these type of meetings and we want to obviously highlight some things for you, but when it comes to implementation, you'll need a little bit more depth. And so obviously we want to make sure that that is there for you. So yeah, looking at the, just some of the summary of key technology and capability updates. Again, we don't necessarily have all the time to go through all of these elements today, but you saw the HTML5, we talked about that HTML5 based HMI, we talked about configuration hub a little bit. You'll have a little bit better slide on that there. Chad at the end will kind of help you go through some of that. Multi-factor authentication, leveraging Active Directory, those kind of things. We've been really focused on, again, pulling in outside technology and leveraging and enabling something new. Speaking of something new, enhanced failover capabilities have been pushed to the latest and greatest as well too. Understanding and voice of customer is paramount to what we do. We don't want to develop anything in an ivory tower. So we're listening to you guys, listening to our customer base as well, just trying to understand how best to enable capabilities so that allows you all to deploy the architectures you need to address the needs of your customers. Speaking of that, this is one of the ones that we did here, and specifically voice of customer. Our customer base was looking for geographic separational capability for their failover. And so we added in TCP into the redundancy equation versus just UDP. So TCP, packet loss detection, packet retransmit capabilities at a protocol level versus UDP doesn't have those. We added that, added packet compression to the capabilities as well too. So we can leverage the TCP technology from protocol perspective, do the geographic separations. You can see there we did testing between our Foxborough and Schenectady locations, almost 200 miles apart, using existing internet IP infrastructure. Obviously not direct connection from our size there. We were able to synchronize 65,000 tag database in less than 3 seconds with that technology. So again, simplifying the architecture, increasing reliability, reducing maintenance, those are the type of things that we have been continuing to build out in our capabilities. Now, when it comes to doing, actual upgrades, we understand, okay, we want to make this as easy as possible. So one of the ways that we did that was the backup and restore utility in iFIX in 2023. You always can create these FBK backup files, essentially a zip file of your project. You could create a full backup file in the past, but it could only be deployed and redeployed onto an exact same hardware architecture that you had before, in terms of the hardware and the also system architecture. Now, what we had in 2023, we allowed you to create a backup file from an older version of iFIX, all the way back to 5.5 is what we've tested. And you can actually take that old backup file and deploy it directly to a 2023 plus node. So we enabled that capability, again, to help with that upgrade process. So that's one of the things that we were looking at there as well, too. Proficy installer, the next one there as well. This is a central capability and technology update for us, done again portfolio wide, where we just simplify the install process. So you can install multiple items at the same time. The system can understand what's available already installed on the hardware architecture, and then allowing you to do one install session, one installer interface, just a couple of button clicks, and it does one reboot at the end, right? So what would take multiple hours now is down to just around 15 minutes. Performance and scalability. This is a paramount for us too as well. We leverage the packet compression from our enhanced failover initiatives. We brought that to the alarm capabilities. We pushed that to the next level, added new diagnostic capabilities, pushed our capabilities in terms of network throughput. We were seeing 80% reduction in alarm generation distribution time internally, but we were seeing even greater than that, sometimes a 12 to 18x improvement there at customer facilities. We also looked in terms of how do we bring workspace into the next generation and next capabilities. And we worked on startup time improvements, seeing upwards of 80% improvement there as well too with 2024 iFIX. So those things can be leveraged there and taken advantage of with 2024. Speaking of 2024, iFIX as well, picture open performance. This is one of the things that we've been developing in terms of this year's development. It's going to be soon back to 2024. But yes, we made major improvements. You can see there, we use actual real use cases, real projects for the development and testing. But even just looking at the sample system, 5.5 was the kind of mainstay identified as one of the best iFIX has ever been in terms of capabilities and performance for picture open. And we were able to beat that consistently with the 2024 SIM that's going to be released there by roughly upwards of 30%. So Chad's just going to do a quick highlight of some of the simplicity features, and then we'll open up Q&A.
Yeah, so I won't spend too much time, but this is just, the reason we're showing you this is just to get you a preview of, if you're on older versions of Simplicity or iFIX, these are some of the, the enhancements we've made that makes it very compelling to move forward to pick up the latest releases. So, we spent a fair amount of time in improving the alarm experience in Simplicity, including adding 10 custom attributes that you can configure to give more context and metadata to your users around your alarms. Redundant configuration update, if you're running redundancy in Simplicity, this allows you to do project updates, major project updates to your system while it's running in production, and while keeping things up by switching the control over to the secondary, updating the primary, and have it all synchronized back together. We've added Python script support in our event engine. This is great for new hires coming out of university. This is what they teach, and Python has an extensive set of libraries and capabilities to enhance the abilities that you can build into your SCADA. I mentioned Proficy authentication and operations hub. We built support into Simplicity to interact, and you can use that authentication going forward to centralize. And then, of course, being able to see your Simplicity and iFIX data inside of Operations Hub and use that going forward for some of your key HMI experiences to be enhanced. We've increased the security capabilities around screens to make sure that they can't be tampered with through our screen signing capabilities. Again, that security capability that lets you have a more secure and protected system. We now support OPC UA in our advanced viewer, which is essentially the ability to bring OPC UA data directly into a screen from an external source without even having to configure a driver in the SCADA. You can directly reference, set up and reference OPC UA server data in your HMI screens in Simplicity. And then finally, from a performance capability, Simplicity is kind of known for its performance, and we continue to build up its scale and capabilities. And we did some horizontal scaling capabilities with multiple EMRPs, which is our event engine that runs our scripts. Is now you can have multiple engines running at once for scalability and performance. And then finally, I'll just close off kind of with the vision of where we're going from our portfolio perspective. You can see here that we're really, there's a lot of capabilities being built to be able to centrally manage your system, especially if you have multiple SCADAs and multiple viewers. Being able to centrally view and interact with those systems from one pane of glass through a browser is what we're aiming at here. And you can see a number of the capabilities that we're planning to support. We've talked about that central thin client visualization through Operations Hub, a centralized security on the right. And then, by being able to see everything together, we can do, amazing things like centrally distribute your SIM or software updates, centrally manage your licenses, do source control types of operations, being able to build up an enterprise model. So again, this is kind of a vision slide. Some of these things we've already implemented, some we're continuing to work on. But as you make that plan to stay current in your upgrade strategy, you'll be able to take advantage of all of these capabilities. And with that, we'll close out and turn it back over for some questions.
Thanks, guys. Really great session. Thanks for that. Yeah, we got a lot of questions. Just while we just summarize a few of those to get to them, just a reminder to everyone that, as part of your solution provider program, there's access to learning and training on Edge that you can, e-learning that you can access for you and as many people as you need in your organization. I encourage you to sign up to that, as well as look at the Proficy curriculum, because there is some in-person training as well that you can get as part of your program as well. So yeah, we've got about 10 minutes for questions. The first one I'll take, which is probably a quick one, hopefully, but is Microsoft stopping the support or updates for Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC edition?
So LTSC has a little bit different approach. They end standard mainstream January 2027, excuse me. Is where in that one is standard is there. There is an extended version for some LTSC versions. There's one that's called extended support, and that one will go till January 2029. So there's a little bit different approach for those ones, but standard, mainstream version of LTSC is 2027 January.
Okay, so slightly different, but they're still planning on it. That's fine. We're talking about plans to migrate new and existing customers from perpetual to subscription licensing, and do we have any insight on the approaches and options that GE is considering on that?
Yeah, that would be a question. You just reach out to sales and channel, and they can help. Obviously that is a application and customer specific approach, because obviously everybody's needs are a little bit different. So this is a conversation where we look at the architecture, look at the licenses, and look at what we need to do to address that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're flexible on that, really. There's no kind of massive push to move people to that, but it's something that can help financially, potentially, and it's the right thing to do, then we'll help with that. Yeah. There was another one, a good one here about, oh yeah, you mentioned about the iFIX upgrade guide. It was displayed.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question, Ben?
Uh-oh, I think we might have lost Ben for a second there. Now, let me just see if I can find that question. I'm not sure which one he was on.
Yeah, so there was the question, when quoting for customer upgrades, what are the major considerations you should think about? And I think that really is where those guides come into play.
Yeah.
And help to kind of, it outlines the things you should consider and prepare as you do an upgrade. So we refer you to those. In the Simplicity slide, there's a link to the customer portal. And as Alec mentioned, you can get the iFIX upgrade guide off of the online documentation main page there.
Absolutely.
So we'll just keep going up the list here until we run out of time, I guess, until Ben or until Ben get back. Are you back on, Ben, or are you still stuck? Okay. I think we answered number 4. Mm. We answered number 5 as well. Oh yeah, so I think number 6 was the question about analytics, which we kind of covered, that cSense is our main software offering to help with your analytic journey, for sure.
Yeah.
With the prevalence of virtualization, is GE seeing any trends where users are upgrading their virtualization host but not their VMs, and as such running antiquated OSs and GE software? Is this a concern for GE? I don't know if I have a good data on that, or if we'd have good data on that, but I think it really just comes down to the same thing we're talking about today, is whether or not you're running a VM and running an old OS, you have the same challenges and the same risks, I think, right?
Yeah.
If you're just because it's running on a virtual machine doesn't make it less or more secure. It's just a way to organize it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I see this one here from Dustin. GE has been talking about performing full iFIX project configuration through Config Hub for years. What does GE think is holding Config Hub from accomplishing this goal? Well, we brought the SCU capabilities back into Configuration Hub in 2023. So it just depends on what you mean by project, right? So in terms of setting up alarms and, setting up security and all those kind of things that can be done in Configuration Hub today. In fact, we have customers who are doing that. When it comes to, making screens from workspace, that's where it doesn't translate there. But when it comes to making screens, we do have Operations Hub, right? So Operations Hub is enabled through Configuration Hub, right? And so you do the development there from a visualization perspective and can deploy it, and it can address multiple different avenues, because it can pull even from Simplicity, iFIX at the same time, if you will, from a depending on the elements that you build into a screen, Historian, those kind of things that are part of the Proficy portfolio, and outside of it, SQL databases, those kind of things can all be pulled into Operations Hub. So yes, it just depends on how you're doing development, but yes, it can be done today.
Yeah, and I would just say that the journey continues, right? We're going to bring more and more capabilities in as we go forward. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's true for Simplicity as well. Like our intent is to bring the Simplicity configuration experience into Configuration Hub as well. How are we doing for time? We have a few more minutes, right? So we talked about the upgrade guide, right? You can get that on if you go to iFIX online documentation. If you type that in Google, and it'll take you to the front page of iFIX. And then search for upgrade in that page, and there's a link to open that PDF or to go.
Absolutely. So yeah, I see this one that's talking about they would like to see some endorsement from GE about our preferred or sanctioned architecture that utilizes minimum backup on-site processing, otherwise leverages cloud connectivity for clients' remote access, historization, and terminal services. So a very interesting comment. And yeah, we continue to build out our architectures, improve architectures. You'll see that there even on our documentation. So that's one that we are looking to address and how we do that. I saw a kind of a related question around cloud infrastructure. Is it supported to run as Simplicity? I'm guessing also by extension, iFIX server performing data collection into the cloud. We can do today, I mentioned that you can actually have a VM or virtual machine in the cloud. We don't have cloud native Simplicity or iFIX today, but you can do a VM in the cloud. And you can do, I even saw another question around, enhanced failover. That's part of the reason we enabled TCP, was to be able to have that failover into the VM in the cloud, right? So that is possible today. So, if you use existing capabilities, you have the VM in the cloud, you can do that. You can use OBCUA and MQTT to record directly. Obviously, there's a cloud-based historian. You can have that up there as well, too. So you can still using iFIX and Simplicity on-premise and then storing data in cloud historian. There's lots of different capabilities from an architecture perspective, and that's our job to enable that capability so that you can build the architecture you need, right? So that's what we're continuing to work on. So answer a few of those questions.
Yeah, I think we talked about the upgrade guide again. We can certainly share a link after this call with everybody. But if you do go to the online documentation and look for upgrade guide, it's there. I'm not sure if the link's completely working, but it should be up there right away.
Yeah.
So support for HTML really will be a game changer in with our future upgrade. Is there any plan to support frameworks like Vue, React? So under the covers, we're building. There's a number of widgets that come out of the box with Operations Hub. They're built with Angular, and but it is possible, and there is a toolkit that you can build your own widgets, and really you're able to use whatever web technology you'd like under the covers there to build that widget and then expose it in Operations Hub. So there is extensibility there that if you're interested in doing that, we do have a number of customers that have built their own widgets, but out of the box we come with built-in widgets to do a lot of capabilities already.
Yeah.
I think if you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. My computer's crashed, so yeah, technology. Unfortunately, I'm on my phone, but thanks for carrying on with that. I think with that we're at time. There's obviously a lot of questions being asked, so hopefully we can find a way to respond to those.
Yeah.
Separately, either with the content we share. But I think all that's left, really, we're at time. Unless there's one more question you wanted to answer.
Yeah, there was one around whether or not, in terms of SCADA sync transport, to use TCP or UDP, whether that's preferred. Either will work. If you bring a project from an old iFIX configuration project and bring it forward, and you had an UDP as enabled there in the enhanced failover before, it will stay that. It won't change it. However, if you start a new project or a new enhanced failover setup, it will default to TCP because of the packet compression. It can do everything that you used to do on UDP. It's just as fast. And then, of course, we don't have to do the jumbo frames like we had to in the past. So that is gone from the equation. So I hope that answers that.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, we're 1 minute past the hour. So I think thanks to you both for your presentations and answering those questions and picking that up as the technology failed me. Thank you. We will reach out to everyone with the details afterwards, and the recording will be available, etc. And as I said, there's lots of resources available in the product documentation and how-to videos, and look out for us sharing more about that as things progress. And like I say, any questions, then feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to support you with how you support your clients on this journey. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you in 2025, probably. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
You.